So with the pandemic complicating international travel, last year a lot of people went camping instead. And this year I predict it's going to be the same, us included. So I thought let's put together a video of the biggest rookie mistakes that you would make if you are a newbie camper. Now, before we get started, hit that subscribe button if you aren't already. And if you want more tips and advice like this, make sure you check out my ebook. Links will be in the description. Not making a packing list. Forgetting something when you're at a remote campsite in the woods 20 miles from the nearest store kind of sucks. So depending on how off-grid you're going to be will determine how careful you should pack. Either way, make a list of everything that you'll need and go over it several times. Check off the items as you pack them. You'll thank yourself later. Relying on your phone for directions. Google Maps is great until you'll lose reception or your battery dies. Yes, I still use my phone as my primary device for directions, but I always have a battery bank and I download offline maps so that I don't require cell service. But even still, if you are going somewhere remote or backcountry, take a physical map and a compass. You might drop, lose, or break your phone and you don't want your life to depend on it. Not reserving a spot, if you can. Campsites can operate on a variety of models. Some campsites are first come, first serve, in which case you'll want to arrive early to ensure a spot. But many popular spots are reservable, and in some cases they can even be completely booked out many months in advance, especially during peak season. Packing the wrong clothing or footwear. Do some research on where you're going and what the weather is going to be like, even if you are not going far, because changes in elevation can create a huge effect on the temperature and create unpredictable weather. So pack a couple extra warm layers and a rain jacket as a precaution. Also, bringing the wrong footwear has the potential to make your trip miserable. So it's always best to have at least one pair of shoes that's waterproof, one pair that's good for hiking or walking, and a pair of flip-flops, even if you're not going to the beach. Because it's for the communal showers. You don't really want to be barefoot in those. Arriving too late. You might underestimate how long it's going to take you to unpack, set up your tent, or make dinner. And it can be pretty frustrating trying to set up a tent, finding the right poles, and getting the fly clipped in, all when the sun has gone down and you can barely see what you're doing. Not planning your meals. So depending on where you're camping, it might not always be possible to just pop into a store and grab some extra bread. So make a list of all your meals so you know exactly how much food to pack. And don't forget the snacks. You'll also want to make sure you have some trail-friendly foods if you are planning any day hikes or activities where you're going to be away from camp. Not storing food properly. Now, I'm not just talking about improper storage that leads to your food spoiling faster than it should. I'm really talking about food storage that keeps you safe and prevents animals from getting to it. Here in Canada, we have a lot of wildlife, including bears, and they have incredible senses of smell. So keep yourself safe by keeping your food away from where you sleep. That might mean you keep your food in your car or locked in a bear-safe cache, or even strung up in a tree to keep the animals from getting to it. Never just outside by your table because, well, there's also mice and squirrels and they're also very good scavengers. Forgetting a first aid kit. It's one of those things that you should always have with you but hope to never use. Always pack at least the basic first aid kit no matter what. You never know what's going to happen and the potential consequences are just too big to save a little space in your bag. I have a whole video on what I pack in my first aid kit, so I'll leave that link down below in the description. Not testing equipment before you leave. There's nothing worse than hiking or driving all the way to your campsite and then realizing that your camp stove is broken or your flashlight no longer works. So before you leave, spend a little bit of time going through all of your gear and double check that it's in good working order. That little bit of work can prevent a whole lot of frustration or discomfort later on. Not bringing enough light. Flashlights, lanterns, and headlamps all have their own advantages and disadvantages. Depending on what you are doing, you might want 1, 2, or all 3 of these items. Big bright lanterns are great for car camping and sitting around a table at night, but they're not really suited for lightweight backpacking. So always pack at least a flashlight or a headlamp and bring more batteries than you expect to need. not bringing enough water. Most people underestimate how much water they actually need. Drinking, cooking, dishes, bathing. Even if you have access to a source of fresh water, you gotta make sure you're able to purify it or that you have enough fuel to boil it so you don't get sick. You might even have to pack in all of your drinking water if there isn't any water available. Forgetting about kitchen cleanup. We all know we have to eat, but sometimes we might forget about cleaning up after cooking food. Leaving dirty dishes covered in food can attract wildlife, which isn't good for you or the animals. So pack some biodegradable soap, some washcloths, a bucket or two, and dump your dirty dishwater away from where you are sleeping. Some campsites will also have specific rules about dumping dirty dishwater, so make sure you know those as well. Not packing out all of your garbage. This is less of a rookie mistake and more of just being irresponsible. It was really sad seeing the amount of trash left behind when we were hiking Kilimanjaro. It takes so little effort to place your trash into a bag instead of throwing it on the ground. So don't be that person. Pack a garbage bag or two and make sure you use them. Planning for the best weather. Even if you're optimistic about the forecast of warm, sunny weather for your entire trip, don't rely on it. Hope for the best, but plan for the worst. Pack a few extra things like a warm layer, rain gear, maybe even a tarp, and put the waterproof fly on your tent, even if it looks like a clear night. Things can change very quickly. The weather forecast isn't always dependable, and it's better to be safe than sorry. Not having cash. A lot of us have gotten so used to paying for everything with a card that we hardly ever carry cash anymore. But if you are going camping, you gotta make sure you have plenty of cash. Remote campsites might not have a signal to process card payments. The guy who drives around the site with firewood may only take cash. And self-registration campsites require you to pay for your stay by putting cash into a drop box. And these are just a few examples, so don't forget your cash. I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned lots. If you did, give the thumbs up and let me know any other tips you might have down below in the comments, and share this video with any rookie campers you might know. Bye!